All right, so let's talk about different ways of working with Git. So I'm going to present you two layouts, two different ways of dealing with Git. You know that Git enables collaboration with different team members, but when talking about Git, there are multiple ways we can approach it. Yeah? Git is a huge wall. There are so many particularities when talking about Git. Let me present you a couple of alternatives, and I'm sure you're familiar with at least one of these. So first of all, we can work with what we call the branch-based model. So what the branch-based model is, if you work on task number 13 of conflicts, you should already be familiar with that. So branch-based model means you got what we call the master, yeah, that's the main branch, and then the way you work is you create another branch, like, I don't know, contact me. Imagine that you are working on your portfolio. Yeah. So you create a new branch. So from master, you create a new branch called contact me. And then you do all your work here. You change your files, your HTML, you do your work. Eventually, you do git commit, git push. Yeah. And can anyone tell me, once you are done with your feature, what else do you do? Lauren, can you say it again? That's correct. Once you are done with your branch, as Lauren said, your goal is to incorporate the changes back to master. Yeah, that's the eventual goal. And the way we do that is by creating a pull request. So someone eventually will approve the pull request, and once the pull request has been approved, the changes will eventually be incorporated into the master branch. Yeah? That's the branch-based model. On the branch-based model, sorry guys, there is someone trying to join. Here you go. So on the branch-based model, we have a single, oh sorry, someone trying to join again. Anyone else? No, thank you. So on the branch-based model, we have one repo, one project on GitHub. Yeah? Let me present you a different way of working with Git, and then we'll talk about differences and similarities. So the other alternative is what we call the fork-based model. So with the fork-based model, we don't have one repo. We have multiple repos. The way it works is we have master, that's the same thing. You can even have some branches as well, technically speaking. Yeah, that's all good, so that's the same thing. However, if you want to work in that project, rather than creating a branch like content me, that's not what you do. What you do, and actually let me remove that branch for simplicity reasons. What you do is you fork the main repo, also known as upstream, into your personal GitHub account. So there are multiple GitHub projects. The official one, and then whoever wants to collaborate, rather than creating a branch, then you create a new repo, you create a new project. Yeah? As I said before, every project can have multiple branches. Sorry guys, there is huge noise in the background, so yes, thank you very much. So as I said before, every repo can have multiple branches. So the upstream, this is the upstream, can have branch 1, oh sorry, no branch, so you could have branch 1, and it could have branch 2 with obviously a meaningful name, yeah, but yeah, that's absolutely possible. And then your repo, your fork, is the same. It has master, and then it also can have branch 3 branch for whatever. Okay? I know this is a bit confusing, but it is important to start feeling the difference between the branch-based model and the fork-based model. So let me present you some examples about when will you use the branch-based model and when will you use the fork-based model. First of all, if you are working for a company where you are surrounded by a group of developers, the branch-based model is likely to be the accepted one. Why? Because it simplifies things a bit. You got one repo. If you want to build a new feature, fine. You create a branch, you work on the branch, and then you ask any of your colleagues, please, can you please, review my changes? Yeah, that's what we call the branch-based model. However, let me show you an example where the fork-based model makes more sense. You know that today we work with open source technologies. Let me show you an example. Imagine that I want to collaborate with React. Yeah. So I go to React, and then even if I don't want to do anything complicated, just, I came across the React project. Imagine that this is the first time, oh, React, what the hell is that? That's a GitHub repo, right? Like Conflicts or any other. It's a large repo, but this is still a repo, yeah? So imagine that I'm reading the instructions, and then I notice there is a typo, yeah? Something as silly as a typo. They misspelled something. They wrote, I don't know, JavaScript with missing T, for instance. So because, React is a community-driven project, I want to collaborate. I want to participate. I want to fix the typo. Look, with the branch-based model, that means that the owner of the repo knows everyone participating on that repo. Yeah? Because the owner of the repo needs to grant them access one by one, individually. If you remember the first day of the bootcamp, I told you, please let me know your GitHub usernames so I can give you access. Okay? So I had to manually grant you access. And that works well when you get a small team of 4, 5, 8 people, all good. But when you have a huge team, I'm not even just talking about teams, when you are dealing with, I don't know, a community of people, yeah, when you have, thousands of collaborators, do you think that I'm in a position to tell Mark Zuckerberg, hey, please grant me access to Facebook, to React, because I want to change a typo, and once I change the typo, that's fine, you can remove me from the list of collaborators. That's not the way it works, obviously. Yeah, that's not the way it works. So with a fork-based model, what they do is, I copy, let me highlight the word copy, because I'm literally copying the master branch. Yeah? So I'm copying the repo I want to work with, and then I create a clone of that project in my personal space. So then I can create branches, or I can do whatever I want. I can change anything. Yeah? And if eventually I want these changes to be incorporated into the master branch, into the upstream, what we do is we create a pull request. So the process is the same. The process is technically speaking the same. The main difference is I don't have to ask anyone, please give me access to your repo, because that's not gonna work. I work on my copy. I can do all I want on my copy. If I break it, that's fine, because I'm breaking the copy, not the original. Yeah. And then if I don't break it, if I eventually end up building something nice, then and only then, I can create a pull request to incorporating my changes into the upstream. So, any questions so far? Wait a minute. Sorry for interruption, Lauren. So let's try to use the right terminology, because otherwise it's going to be super confusing. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. So if you're talking about the left-hand side, again, guys, this is going to be called, and please use that terminology from now on, upstream. Yeah. That's a really good question. That's actually the content of this workshop. I'm gonna present, or I will try to present what happened if two people change the same thing at the same time. And this is one of the most complicated things to deal with. Yeah? That's a natural issue. Yeah, what happens if you and me, Lauren, we change the same line of the same file, or if I rename a file? I mean, at some point, machines cannot help us. We need to take a human decision about which piece of code is the correct one. Yeah. So that's what I would like to present now, actually. Yeah. Any other questions? No? So the way you are gonna work until the end of the bootcamp is using a fork-based model. Is it because I think if this more natural? Probably not. I mean, if that was a real company, I will be probably following a branch-based model because we're a team, we're a small team. It will be just easier. So then you may be thinking, why the hell are we using a fork-based model? Because I think it is important to give you that sort of resilience. So you are going to learn a new way of working with Git. You already know that one because that was part of conflicts. Yeah. If you work on task number 13 plus, you've done that already. You have created a branch. You have requested, approval to any of your colleagues using a pull request. So you know that already. So I think you have a good opportunity to learn something new, a fork-based model. That will be particularly convenient if in the future you decide to participate, to collaborate with any open source project. Yeah? Cool. So today I'm gonna actually, present that fork-based model. So I'm gonna create the app stream of one of your projects, of one of your team apps, and then I'm gonna simulate that I interact with that project. So the first thing is, on my GitHub account, where is my GitHub account? So on my GitHub account, let me show you. This is my GitHub account. I got multiple projects here. So what's my point? My point is, I'm going to create the app stream. Technically speaking, I could create my app stream here as a personal project, but in order to be a bit more professional, so we at Codery, we have an organization, which is a special user. So as part of these organizations, you can create projects that can be then forked by any of the team members. So that's actually what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to create one of your projects, one of your team projects, which is, was it Team Alpha Drink Me App? Or I know you send it to me using a camel case, but guys, that's right. So what you send me is exactly that, right? When talking about that, I think that's okay. To be honest, I cannot complain about that name. I believe, however, I got the feeling that when talking about create repos, it becomes a bit more standard. But again, I don't think there is any particular reason to follow that standard. Just a convention. Yeah, I think the convention is to do something like that. Bring me up. To use the snake, not the snake. Sorry, the kebab case syntax. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna leave the project public because you want some visibility, obviously. So now I'm just gonna create it. All right, and then I got the empty repo. You don't have to do that because that's gonna be the upstream. You are gonna fork it. You are gonna work with a copy of this repo, not with this repo directly. So what else? I'm gonna set up a new repo locally. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm just following the same steps you follow on the first day of the bootcamp when working with conflicts. If you remember, guys, what you did, the steps where you created a new app, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I would like to do today. So I'm gonna try to move things, here you go. So let me try to open a new terminal. All right, so probably can even zoom it a bit. All right, that's maybe too much, right? Anyway, so yeah, you see my terminal. So on my home directory, is the text readable enough, guys? Yeah, just hold on, please. All right, let's try to play with the sizing of the window. How? Okay, cool, awesome. Thank you, guys. So the first things first, I'm in my home directory, so I'm gonna create a new repo, right? Create React app, and then the name of the repo. Once again, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that because this is just the setup of your team application. We do that once, but I think it's good to remember, to refresh, how you create new projects with React. So create React app, and then I'm gonna use the same name, bring me up, just for simplicity reasons. Create React app, bring me up, and then I press enter. So then this is gonna create the new application. You know these steps, right? So this is gonna set up everything for you, blah, 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 no problem at all. All right, so next step is, eventually I want to, commit and push just the empty project, without any changes, just the default spinning logo of React. You remember, that's the default, the default content of any Create React app project. So that's what I want to do. So once this process is over, I would like to push it to GitHub. In the meantime, because that may take a few minutes, something I would like to do is I would like to start inviting collaborators. So this is going to be the alpha team. So obviously, I will have to invite all the members of the alpha team to this project. And actually, this is a good way to remember that. Please, I know I could find that by myself, but it will simplify my life quite a bit. If you could please send me today your GitHub usernames. If you can please send me your GitHub usernames, I will grant you access one by one to this project. So I'm gonna first of all grant access to one of the users I got here. So let me try to invite someone, because I got multiple GitHub accounts set up locally. So I'm gonna grant access to some of them. So for instance, I'm gonna add admin access to all of you. And you may be thinking, why we need admin access? You don't really need admin access. But the thing is, I want you once again to play all the potential roles in the development journey. So first of all, I want you to play the developer role, where you do some coding, but I also want you to play the team tech lead role, where you don't code, but you review what other developers did. And that's why you need some sort of special access. All right, so I got that developer already invited. So now the thing is, hopefully that person, which is me, will receive an email. And this is where you will have to start interacting with the project. So now you will need to check your inbox, accept the invitation, all these sort of things, right? And that's why everything gets a bit more complicated, because I need to receive the email. Well, actually, I think I can copy it, right? All right, cool. So I think I copied the invitation. So now, next thing I can do is I can try to sign in with that GitHub account. You see why this is so complicated, guys? Because I got multiple GitHub accounts, and now I have to tell you, now I'm user A, now I'm user B. In reality, that's not that complicated, because if, for instance, Lauren is playing with Max, Lauren knows she's Lauren, Max knows he's Max, right? So that confusion is not real in reality, But for the sake of this workshop, I'll try to set it up. So imagine that window belongs to a user that is going to collaborate with the team application. So that's any of the alpha team members. So you see, I got a message like, Ricardo has invited you to collaborate, to participate in this project. Yes, accept the invitation. And now, look, the project is empty, right? I mean, we haven't pushed anything yet. So before moving on, let me try to push everything. You see, that's still installing. This is one of the reasons why this workshop is also a bit complicated, because we need to wait. Oh, actually, look, just in time. So now, it looks like the project has been correctly installed. So as usual, let's open it with VS Code. So let's open it with VS Code. So I'm going to open a new project. So if you give me a second, hopefully I'll find out the way. File, open, and I will just like to open the project and maybe do a bit of testing with it, right? So in my home directory, you see, I got my DreamMe app. All right, so I got the app open with my VS Code. So I'm going to start the server, just to prove that everything works fine. So to start the server, terminal, new terminal, and now on the terminal, you type npm start, and that will hopefully start the server. You know, guys, that if you are running multiple apps in parallel locally, you'll get that sort of warning. Yeah, like, hey, you're already running another application. Are you sure you want to run this one? You type Y, and then your browser will hopefully open the application in your web browser. Yeah. So, I would like to check that everything is working as expected. Let me try to move windows a bit. So you see, in one window, on the main window, I got my admin user. On my secondary window, I got the secondary user, and then I got VS Code with the upstream. Remember, I haven't forked anything. This is just the upstream. Yeah. All right, so is the app working? I don't know. We need to wait until the server starts. That's a bit slow sometimes. But let me prepare everything, and then let me push my changes. Here we go. So now in theory it's working. Here we go. You see, I got the real logo, nothing exciting, but at least it proves that everything works fine regarding the upstream. So let's push the upstream. You know that to push the upstream, the only thing you need to do is either from the graphic user interface, you select on the 3 dots and then push. Yeah, I can actually do that if you want. Yeah, 3 dots push. If it's the first time, that may not work. Okay, that's a good point actually. Look, your repository has not remotes configured to push to. Does anyone know what that means? That's not right. Git is already initialized. That's correct, Elena. That's correct. I didn't tell my computer where the hell that project is in the cloud. The project exists in the cloud. Yes, I created it 5 minutes ago. However, remember, guys, we need to add the remote. Yeah, we need to add the remote. So remember, that's the upstream, and you don't need to do that. I'm just trying to show you the big picture. So you will see how the process works end to end, but you don't have to do what I'm doing now. I'm just setting up a new project because it's just a matter of time in your career. You'll have to take that action. You'll have to drive that. You have to decide how to create new applications from scratch. All right, so let me add a new remote. So if you remember, the syntax was something like git remote add origin. Yeah, origin or because that's the upstream. You can call it upstream as well. That's up to you. Yeah, origin and then the link that I got copied in my clipboard. All right. So now let me try again. So 3 dots, push. Blah, blah, blah. Are you sure you want to push to master? Yes. And now look, this tiny loading bar. So now my system is trying to push the changes to the cloud. So hopefully that should be it. If I refresh the changes, you see, that's great. So the alpha team got the resources ready. So now we can move to the next step. So now you as Team Alpha members will have to fork that project. And that's what I'm going to do now. So back to my secondary, back to my developer account. Yeah, on my developer account, remember I got invited to participate in the DreamMe app. Now, all right, yes, I want to participate on that project. How do I do that? Look, not clone, fork. Yeah, you click on the fork icon, which is on the top right corner of your screen, and then look. Once you fork it, look, GitHub is literally copying the entire project into your personal space. You see, that's my personal project forked from the Codery main project. Yeah, I got a copy. That's my copy, and that's the copy I'm gonna work on from now on. So now, because I created a copy, I can clone it. Yeah, I can clone it. I can clone it. Remember, guys, which should you use, HTTPS or SSH? Which method should you use? SSH, that's correct. That's correct. You should use SSH. You should use SSH. Yeah? Because if you use SSH, then you don't need to enter your credentials all the time. Yeah? However, to break my theory, I'm going to use now HTTPS. And the only reason why I'm going to use HTTPS is because I got 2 accounts. So I don't want Git to believe that I'm trying to push with one account or the other. That's a bit mind-blowing. Yeah? But you don't have to use HTTPS. Please always use SSH, unless you got multiple GitHub accounts, which is my case only for educational purposes. Yeah? So this is one of these examples where, you know, all these workshops that in theory should simplify things about how reality works, in some particular cases, it's making everything more complicated. But anyway, regardless of which method you use, now the point is, imagine that you want to start collaborating with a project. So what you will do is you are gonna clone. What are you cloning, guys? Are you cloning into your personal space? Are you cloning the upstream, or are you cloning the fork, your personal fork of the upstream? That's correct. That's correct. You clone, you copy, you download the personal fork. Yeah. So let me do something. Let me create a new folder called forks, for instance, or let me create a new folder. You don't have to do that again. The only reason why I'm doing that is because otherwise I will have 2 projects with the same name. Yeah, Drink Me Up in the upstream and Drink Me Up in the fork. So I'm just creating a new fork. Let me move to that fork, and now let me clone it. You see? So if I clone the repo, eventually that will download all the files and folders about that project. Actually, that's probably, once you clone your project, that's the first step you need to do on the terminal. Yeah, you clone it, and then can anyone tell me what will be the next step? That's correct. No, that's not correct. No. That's correct. You need to open the folder, Vicky. I told you like 4 times this morning, right? If you run npm install, that's never gonna work because you are in the wrong folder. So to keep it simple, there are 2 options. Either from the terminal, you move to the folder, and then you type npm install, or alternatively, probably even easier, you go to VS Code, close everything to avoid confusions, close folder, and then you open it from scratch. Yeah? Imagine it's the first time you are collaborating with your team application, so then you start from scratch. So then you need to find where in your hard drive your project is. Yeah? So I will select the folder, and then I will eventually I will be able to collaborate to do any changes on it. Yeah, but we still need to take some actions before we are able to collaborate. So let's first of all open the project, and then do we need to start it? Probably we don't need to start it in this case. I mean, we proved that it works already. So now I would like to show you where the problem is. Let's display a diagram. Let's display some graphs. Look, so we got upstream created by user X. And now you got fork 1 created by Elena, for instance. Yeah? And then you got fork 2 created by Aaron, for instance. And fork 3 created by Vicky, just as an example. Yeah. So I'm gonna present you a problem. I'm gonna add I'm gonna simulate that Elena is adding a change. And I'm gonna simulate that Aaron is adding another change. And we'll see where the problem is and how to deal with that particular problem. So how am I gonna simulate I'm Elena? You see, again, I'm talking about simulating, and that's why it makes everything so mind-blowing. So look, I'm Aaron now. I'm Aaron, so this is my laptop. I just downloaded, I just cloned the fork, everything, all good, fantastic, no problem at all. But, before doing any change, so I haven't touched my code yet, now Elena is gonna change something. And that's what I'm gonna do now from the command line. I'm gonna do something quite simple, guys. Very, very simple, very simple, very simple. So I'm going to my upstream, and I'm gonna change something directly on the upstream. We shouldn't do that. I'm gonna skip all the security rules. I don't wanna create any pull requests. I don't wanna create any of that. I'm just gonna do a change in the upstream because I'm an admin of that project. So I'm not even gonna open it with VS Code. So I'm gonna use my command line editor on the terminal, and then look at the change, guys. So do you remember you get the message edit, source up, and save to reload? You remember, guys, that message? That's the first thing you get when you, yeah? So I'm gonna simulate that I'm Elena, and Elena decided to add, look, just one character, literally, an exclamation mark. You see, by default, you have a dot. I'm changing the dot with an exclamation mark. So I'm gonna save the changes. And if I were Elena, you know what I will do, right? I will commit the changes on my fork. Updating instructions, I don't know, meaningful title. And then, of course, I will push my changes to my fork. Yeah. Once again, I'm skipping some steps. Then, where are we? We're in a situation where, again, we got the upstream and we got Aaron's fork. And the upstream, let me try to open both in parallel. So on the left-hand side of my screen, you got the upstream. Then, actually, can I open both side by side? No, this is gonna make everything way more complicated. You see? So on the left, that's the upstream, and now I got the fork. They look very similar, but can you spot any difference in terms of number of commits? Correct. That's correct, Maxim. That's correct. On the upstream, on the main repo, we got 2 commits because Elena has just contributed. Yeah. So technically speaking, the upstream is ahead. Yeah. We are behind. Aaron's branch is behind because Elena has incorporated some changes that are not part of our fork yet. So rather than showing you how to do things right, I'm gonna show you how the majority of the junior developers do the thing, which is wrong. Yeah. So, and then you will see why this is so difficult to deal with when you do things in the wrong way. So once again, imagine I'm Aaron. Again, that's nothing against Aaron, right? But you know, I got my project here. Do you think, guys, if I open the app.javascript, will it incorporate Elena's changes or not? And why? Why not? That makes sense. That's not the right term, but you definitely prove you know what you are talking about. So, yeah, first of all, no. Guys, look, line number 11. The exclamation mark is not here yet because that's only available in the cloud of the upstream. Yeah, so look again to the picture. So to simplify things a bit, we got version 2 instead of X and Y. Let's talk about version 2 on the upstream because of Elena. So I'm going to remove Elena from here. She's done. She's on holidays now. Aaron, however, is still in version 1. And to be more precise, when talking about projects, there are 2 boundaries. So we got local, that's your laptop, and then you got the origin, which is the cloud. At the moment, Aaron is in sync with himself because he got the same code on his laptop and in the cloud. So that's correct. Yeah, he's consistent with himself. The problem is he's behind the upstream by one version. Yeah? So ideally, Aaron should incorporate the new changes into both his local and his origin. But imagine that he ignores that. Yeah? Imagine that he doesn't incorporate any change. So what Aaron is doing now is changing the same line, 11, you see? But rather than having an exclamation mark, this time I'm gonna have a question mark. Do you see, guys, that eventually we're gonna have a problem? Because both, yes. So two team members change the same line. Yeah? And I'll tell you something, if you are thinking, oh, but this is so unlikely to happen, no. That happens way more often than you may think about, because it's not just about changing the same character. What if I added, guys, like few break lines on top? Everything is messed. Yeah? So having conflicts is a normal thing. We should try to minimize conflicts because conflicts are a waste of time, energy, and motivation. So we should try to minimize the number of conflicts you have per week. But because we don't live in an ideal world, accidents may happen. So first of all, let's try to see how to proceed when we have an accident, like this one. So I completely forgot to incorporate the changes from the upstream. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna commit and push. So now I'm doing updating instructions, and I commit. So now let's pay attention to the big picture. So what I've done here is I have upgraded my version. I don't have B1 anymore. Now I have B2. But in reality, it's a different B2, because Elena created B2.A, and now Aaron has created B2.B. So now, what do we need to do, guys, to incorporate B2.B into our origin? Merge, wrong. Which command, guys, sends the code to the cloud? Push, that's correct, guys, push. So we're going to git push. Loading, you see? So now the changes have been incorporated to the origin. So now, look, once again, Aaron is in sync with himself. The code he has locally is the same code he has in his fork. So now, imagine that Aaron is done with his changes. What do you think will be the next step if Aaron wants to incorporate the changes into the upstream? Merge, and how do we do that? A pull request, that's correct, Lauren. We create a pull request. So now, if I was Aaron, I will go to my fork. That's something you've done already, right? That's part of Codeflix number 13. I would say go to commits with the updating instructions. So that looks good to me. Yeah. So now we go to pull request. And now I can create a pull request. The main difference is, look at the direction of the pull request. Look at the arrow. So the pull request happens from Aaron's account to the Codery account. You see the direction? From the fork to the upstream. From the fork to the upstream. And now look at that red message. Can't automatically merge. That's the worst case scenario. Why? Because Git is unable to determine how both Elena's and Aaron's changes can live together. It's impossible to determine how to proceed. So now we have a conflict, which is a word that no one wants to hear about. Because having conflicts means pain. You're gonna suffer and sweat like a pig. So we're gonna try to deal with that conflict. And how are we gonna do that? Whenever you got that message, Yes, it tells you, don't worry, you can still create a pull request. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you are just postponing the problems. As usual, like, guys, like when you go to the doctor, yeah, if you got a health problem, the sooner you detect and the sooner you take an action with your health issue, the better, right? So that's the same thing. I can ignore the problem for now, but it will hit my face back sooner or later. So I don't want to create a pull request that can't be automatically merged. That smells a lot. So before making the snowball larger, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going back to my local environment. Let me open a terminal. And now I will have to run some commands on the terminal. I'm going to actually show you. Please save the link I'm going to send you, because I'm not going to send you again. I don't know why students keep asking me for the link. Just save it somewhere safe. So that link, it comes from GitHub, so it's official documentation, tells you how to sync a fork, how to make sure your code is up to date. So we have to run a bunch of commands. It's quite easy, but it is important, guys, to keep that always in a place where you can easily identify it. Yeah. So I'm just gonna follow, guys. I'm just gonna follow these steps. Yeah. So the first thing is open the terminal. Yes, I got my terminal open. Fine. Second step, change your current working directory. I am on my current working directory already. Yeah, that's bring my app. What else? Now we need to run a bunch of commands. Git fetch upstream. That's the first command we need to run. Git fetch upstream. That will update all the metadata, commit information, and everything. And now, look, that message is relevant. Fatal. Upstream does not appear to be a Git repository. What that means? Look what happens if I type git remote -v. That will tell me where the code is gonna be in the cloud. And so far, as you can see here, the only information Aaron has is about his fork, which is the origin. Yeah, you see, that's Aaron's account. So he knows about his fork. That's why he can push, he can pull, no problem at all. But, if we want to synchronize with the upstream, we have to tell your laptop where the hell the upstream is. Your laptop doesn't know where the upstream is. You need to tell him or tell it. Yeah. So how do we do that? We need to type a command: git remote add upstream, and now we are gonna add the location of the upstream. So you need to go to the main Codery repo. Yeah. Find the app. Actually, you know how to find that easily. If you are on your fork, where is your fork? I'm not on my fork. So let me go back to my fork. Yeah. And then you see fork from Codery, blah, blah. So you click here, fork from Codery, bring my app. Then you'll be redirected to the upstream. And once you do that, you click on the clone or download, and then you copy the URL. I don't think there is any difference in this occasion between copying HTTPS and SSH. You can use either. And the reason is you are not going to push directly to the upstream. So you won't have problems with permissions, because all these things will happen via pull request. So you copy that URL and then you paste it into a terminal. Git remote add upstream, blah, 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 blah. All right, and once you do that, then you try again. Git fetch upstream. So let's try it. You see? And now it's telling me that, hey, something happened. Yeah. So once again, some metadata has been updated. I'm gonna ignore the details because otherwise we will spend here hours. But everything is okay. The second step is the fourth one, but the second command we need to type is just to make sure that you are working with a master branch. You know that sometimes, and that happened to some of you, I think Aaron had that problem recently, that he was working with a branch instead of with master. So the next step is just to make sure that you are working with a master branch. And then, I mean, so far, everything has gone well. Yeah, we didn't have any error, any warnings, but all the problems will happen with the next and last step. This is where all the problems will show up. Git merge upstream master. So by the first time ever, we are gonna try to combine your fork with the upstream. And then is where we are gonna have conflicts. Look, git merge upstream master. Look, you see, that's the magic word no one wants to see. Conflict. Merge conflict in app source/app.js. So what do you need to do whenever you get that message? On the Git panel, you will see VS Code highlights the file or the files with conflict. You see, whenever that becomes red, and you see that red or orange capital C, that tells you that there is some manual action expected before merging your fork with the upstream. So how can we take the action? You click on the file, and then look. When you click on the file, that view is a bit confusing, but the idea is VS Code is showing you the difference between your changes, the current ones. You see, guys, do you remember? This is what Aaron did, the question mark at the end, versus against the changes on the upstream. This is what Elena did. Yeah, you can see somehow side by side, both versions. So Elena, that was option 2.A. Aaron, that was the other way around, the current one, that was option 2.B. Yep. So now, which one is better? Well, this is why machines cannot help you. A machine doesn't know if a question mark is better than an exclamation mark. So when you get that, it's time to discuss with the team. Like, hey, guys, unfortunately we changed the same thing at the same time ish. So what do we want to do from a business point of view? Which message is better to the user? Yeah. So once again, I don't care. I don't care at the moment which one wins. But you as a team, you have to agree. You have to manually agree on which message do you want to show to the user. Imagine that because of whatever reason you want to accept, I don't know, for instance, you want to accept Aaron's changes. Yeah? So if you want to keep Aaron's changes as the right version, then you see there are some options on top of the conflict. So Aaron's changes are the current because are local. So I will accept current change. And when you click there, pop, you see the warning is over and it will keep, yes, Aaron's changes with the question mark at the end of the line. So once you've done that, you can go back to your Git panel. You see the C remains, but it's not red anymore. Yeah, it's not red anymore. That means that there was a conflict, but at least now, you know, in theory, the conflict is gone because you took manual action to decide which one wins. You can also see that a Git is automatically setting up a default commit message. I used to leave it like that. I mean, we are just fixing conflicts, right? So, you know, I'm not particularly big fan of renaming it, but you can change the message if you want. So the next thing we need to do is commit. Sorry, before you click commit, I forgot something. Whenever there is a conflict, you need to manually click on the plus icon on the conflicts. So VS Code does that for you all the time, except whenever there is a conflict. Yeah? So if there's a conflict, you click on the plus, and now you commit. There are no changes, but that's a bit weird. Maybe that happened already. Let me try to push. Yeah, in theory, now that should be okay. I'm not 100% convinced though. So let me go to GitHub, and if my theory is correct, I should have probably on my fork 3 commits. Let me have a look. Not quite yet. That's interesting. Let me try to create a pull request again. If we still get conflicts, I'll start again because maybe I missed something. You see, the conflict is still there. So that means that I click in the wrong button at some point. So no problem at all, guys. I mean, this can happen, right? So let's start again. Open terminal, I got it. Change the current working directory, I got it. And now git fetch upstream. All right, so git fetch upstream. Cool. What else? Git checkout master. Git checkout master. Cool. And now the tricky one, right? Git merge upstream master. So git merge upstream master. We got the same conflict again. All right, so let me accept Aaron's change again. So accept current change. Now here we had the problem before, right? I mean, now we have problems trying to add these changes. I'm not sure why that happened, to be honest with you, because if I click commit, it tells me there are no changes to commit. That's a bit strange. Maybe it's because it's the first time. You know, sometimes, guys, the first time you try to commit and push using the graphic user interface, it doesn't work well sometimes. So just to, avoid any confusion, I'm going to try to commit and push using the command line. So if there is something wrong, at least hopefully the command line will tell me. So on the command line, you can type git commit and then fixing conflict. And then now git push. Git push. That looks better to me. So once again, the graphic user interface is nice. However, it sometimes doesn't work as expected, especially if there is any warning or if there is any question you need to deal with. That's not as advanced as you may want. But I think it worked fine this time. I think. All right. So the way to prove it is I will try to create the pull request again, and that's a bit confusing because. Wait a minute. Let me go back to my fork. Let me try to go back to my fork. Fork. Guys, look. You see? That makes me feel much more confident because I got a bunch of commits. So if I click on 4 commits, so what did I got? So I got all the necessary commits. So I got all the changes incorporated by Elena plus my eventual changes. So that makes me feel comfortable that if I show you the situation again, in reality, what I got here is not 2.A versus 2.B. So somehow what I got now is version 3. So now Git understands that we have fixed the issues, we have solved the conflicts. So then now in theory, it should be much easier to create a pull request. Why? Because guys, are we behind or ahead of the upstream? So are we behind or are we ahead? That's correct. We are ahead because we have new stuff. Yeah. So now what we need to do is to create a pull request to incorporate the new stuff v3 into the upstream. Yeah. So now hopefully from now on it's going to be a piece of cake. So we go to pull request to create a new pull request. And then look. You see the difference, guys? Able to merge. We don't have any red text anymore. So now Git understood that there was a conflict, that we fixed the conflict. So then it is safe-ish. It is safe-ish to create the pull request. So let's do that. Let's create the pull request. Obviously, remember, have meaningful instructions. Updating instructions to the user, whatever. Yeah. Create a pull request. And now, the pull request is open. So now it's up to any of your colleagues. So if Aaron has created the pull request, Aaron will ask any team member, like Vicky, for instance, hey, Vicky, could you please review my pull request? So Vicky, what Vicky will do is she will go to the upstream. And then, because she will have admin access to the upstream, she will be able to decide whether the pull request should be approved or rejected. That's something you are already familiar with. Yeah. So you'll find the list of changes. You will see the old version. Elena put the exclamation mark. In the new version, Aaron put the question mark. So now, if we are happy with the changes, the only thing you need to do is approve. and then, you know, thank you, whatever. And then once you do that, can anyone tell me what's next? Not yet. What happened if Elena updates, for instance, her fork? Yeah, let me show you the diagram. So where is the upstream? In which version is the upstream at the moment? B1, B2, B3, B4? Look. Someone. No. I'm not asking about. All right, we can add Elena if you want to make it more complicated. Let's add Elena. So Elena local is on B what? Correct. And in the origin, which version is Elena? That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. That's where we are at the moment. But now, what happens if Elena follows these steps? What will happen at the end of step number 5? Say it again, Aaron. She will get B3 or create B4. Okay, so it could be before if Elena had changed something. In mine, just to keep it a bit simpler, yeah, because that's complex enough. Elena hasn't touched anything. So Elena, you know, she's coming back from holidays and she wants to see what happened, right? While she was in Bahamas. So now she needs to, you know, to incorporate, she needs to follow these steps. So now my question for you at the moment, if Elena follows these steps, will she get B3 or not? That's correct, Lauren. That's correct. I mean, she can do that. She can follow the steps, but eventually she'll get the message, nothing to, you know, to incorporate, something like that, yeah? Like, no, to be more precise, the message would be like, you are up to date with upstream. And then Elena will say, what the hell? I've been on holidays 2 months, and then I'm up to date? That means no one has collaborated, no one has contributed at all. Can anyone, yeah, apart from Lauren, can anyone tell me why? That's correct, Elena. That's correct, Elena. Aaron didn't merge yet. Yeah. So Vicky approved Aaron's changes, which is good. It's good. Yeah. You see, Vicky approved these changes 2 minutes ago. Fantastic. But remember, it's up to the coder, up to the developer. Once your pull request has been approved, it's up to you guys to confirm, to merge. You see, merging. You see, and now once you do that, your changes should have been incorporated into the upstream. So now the upstream should be on version 3. Let's actually prove that. So if I go back to my upstream, you see, don't count the number of commits because then it's going to be a bit more difficult. But definitely, I hope you agree with me that something else has been incorporated to the upstream. Regardless of whether you call it version 3 or 3.1, because that's a bit confusing. Yeah, I'm just trying to simplify the figures here. So the thing is, whatever Aaron did is now part of the upstream. So now what Aaron should say, and that's vital, guys, that's vital. Every time your pull requests are approved and merged, it's your responsibility to tell your team, hey guys, my changes are now part of the upstream. So please incorporate them into your local forks. Because the more you wait to incorporate changes into your fork, the longer you are behind the upstream, the more likely you are to have issues later on. That's why it is important to let your team know, hey guys, please incorporate my changes, which is essentially about following the steps on the guide I send you on Slack. And that's it. So now Questions? Yep. You need to follow the steps. Yeah, no, yes, follow these steps. Just follow the steps. You need to run a bunch of commands. You first of all git fetch upstream, then git checkout master, and eventually git merge upstream / master. Just follow the steps. Yeah? And once you do that, you'll be Elena on different. More questions? Hmm? Hmm? So when you commit from the command line, you do git commit -am. So I'm passing 2 flags. So M means, yeah, I want to send a message, like whatever. A stands for add. You know, guys, that when you commit, first of all, you add the changes. Technically speaking, VS Code does that for you. There are 2 commands: git add, so that will add the changes, that will track the changes, then git commit, and eventually git push. Yeah, so now you know that you can run both commands in one go. Yeah, that's right. What else, guys? You have to try, definitely. So I'll do something, guys. Yes, and be ready to suffer. I mean, I need to be completely honest with you. Even senior developers struggle because eventually some conflicts like this one can be easily solved, but things can get way more tricky. So my message here is, you are gonna struggle. This is the sign for you to struggle, but that's part of the bootcamp. Yeah, I prefer you to struggle, to ruin 3 days of your life now than once you are getting paid. Yeah. So, guys, from now on, yeah, every single change you do on your team application has to follow this strategy. Yeah. You change your stuff into your fork. Once you are done with that particular change, you create a pull request and you ask someone else to approve that pull request. Yeah? The more often you synchronize with the upstream, the less likely you are to have problems. Yeah? Also, guys, if you remember, I think 3 weeks ago we talked about productivity. You remember the very first time we talked about dealing with React components? I told you it's not a good idea to have a huge app.js file with 20,000 components on it. Is it much better to create a smaller file? You remember that, guys? So when talking about Git, that will be another advantage. Guys, conflicts happen when 2 people are touching the same file at the same time, more or less. Yeah. Obviously, if you think about it, the more files you have, the less likely it is that both of you are going to change the same file. If your application has one file, app.js, you're going to have conflicts all the time because everyone is touching the same file. You get my point? If, however, you have thousands of files, still, of course, by coincidence, you may have a conflict, but you are essentially playing your cards. It is less likely for you to change the same file at the same time because you'll have more files. Anything else? Yep. Mm-hmm. Guys, it is absolutely fine to work in parallel. So don't forget that Git has been designed. It was originally designed for Linux. You know Linux, right? So Linux is the most sophisticated piece of open source software in the world. Yeah. So the idea with Git is that you can obviously work in parallel. So you can be working in Elena on component A, and then Aaron can be working on component B. So you don't have to say, all right, I need to wait until Elena is finished. No. You can work in parallel. The rule to me is, guys, every time you have a React component, this morning actually you briefly mentioned that, right? Like you're going to create components, stuff like that. Remember to keep each component on a separate file. Exactly. That will minimize the chances of having conflicts. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anything else? So next steps. I need everyone, please, to send me your GitHub usernames. Yeah? So once you do that, I will grant you access. The team alpha application is ready. So once I give you access, you can start working on it. For the team Bravo, if you give me 20 minutes, it will be created as well. Oh, thank you very much, guys. Let me know if you need anything. Cheers. Bye.